Who wants to add more manga to their TBR? Because I certainly do. I've had a very productive manga spending few months. I discovered a website called Sci-Fi, which I believe a lot of people already know about, but I have to give a special thank you to Tracy for letting me know about it, and I couldn't be stopped, essentially. So a lot of what I got is from Sci-Fi. I have some things I got from the Forbidden Planet 3 for 2 deal, and other sort of places too, like Traveling Man and Amazon. And usually I do my book hauls with my regular novels, but I decided to split them again for this month because, yeah, the last 2 months have been a little bit ridiculous. So I'm going to go through my manhwa that I picked up, some light novels that I picked up, in fact it might just be one, and the rest of it will be manga. So let's just get straight into it. Firstly, I have Killing Stalking Volume 5. If you've been following my book hauls this past year, you will see a volume of this every now and then. As soon as one comes out, I have to get it and read it straight away. So I've already read this. I am patiently waiting for the final 3 volumes to come out. But this is manhwa, the first of 3 in this video. It follows Sangwoo, who is a serial killer, and Bum, who is a stalker of the serial killer, and what unfolds when their paths cross. I feel like I've talked about this like so many times that I don't really need to keep repeating myself with it. But if you haven't read it yet, just know it is very graphic and so taboo, but it's something that you just can't seem to stop reading out of morbid curiosity. And it's definitely kickstarted my love for manhwa, so I do have 2 more. I hope you're proud. I also got the first volume of The Dangerous Convenience Store. I believe volume 2 comes out in February. This is a boys love manhwa. This one follows a convenience store worker, and he works at this convenience store that is very dangerous. Like, lots of dangerous people come in, like mobsters and just gang members and all of that kind of stuff. When one day this mobster guy, who seems so very cool and hot, comes in, and he seems to start to want to protect our convenience store worker. What is his name again? Yeo. And then Gunwoo is the tall, hunky gangster who frequents the store. Oh, I read this and I was immediately enamored. It is very hot. It's nothing like Killing Stalking. But I'm definitely interested in reading more, so I believe February is when the next volume comes out. Oh my god, I literally just opened the page just randomly because sometimes I like just quickly flick through and whoa. Next, I have The Horizon, and I believe there are only 3 volumes of this, and volumes 2 and 3 are already out, so I would like to get 2 and 3 and maybe read it all in one go. This sounds a little bit like Grave of the Fireflies from Studio Ghibli, a little bit. I believe it follows a boy and a girl. I don't know if they are siblings or just friends, but they are children, and this is a post-apocalyptic world where it seems like everyone is pretty much dead, or like everyone's just like deserted. I don't know how it comes across because the back is so vague. Just says a boy and a girl alone together, all they can do is move forward. But there is this weird man who's following them, and that just gives me chills. Honestly, I think it's gonna be so good. I've seen this on a YouTuber's best of 2023 video, and I needed to consume it ASAP. So yeah, I believe this is manhwa, but please do correct me if I'm wrong. I'm very, very interested. Oh my god, and the next ones as well. Like, it's taken everything in me not to just buy them all right now. So the next series is Ascendance of a Bookworm. So I was told, because I recently read the first volume of the manga in my 24 manga in 24 hours video challenge, so if you haven't yet checked that out, link down below. It's all spoiler free, so there are no spoilers for anything. But it was a challenge where I read 24 volume 1s in 24 hours, and Ascendance of a Bookworm was one of them. But I was told there are light novels, which I should definitely check out, and the manga is based off the light novels. This has become one of my favourite reads of 2023 already. You know, I only read the first volume, but I did pick up part 1 volume 2, but I accidentally bought part 2 volume 1 instead of part 1 volume 1, and it's a little bit confusing because you do have the manga and you have the light novels, and they do have very similar covers. So obviously, like, you have Ascendance of a Bookworm light novel part 1 volume 1, and then you have Ascendance of a Bookworm manga part 1 volume 1, and you have to like kind of make sure that you don't get the wrong things. But I'm telling you, I am resisting the urge to just buy everything that's available for Ascendance of a Bookworm. I just freaking love this so, so much. So this story follows a girl who, at the very start, on the very first page, she is crushed to death by the books she loves so much. And she ends up waking up hundreds of years in the past in the body of a 5-year-old girl, and it's a world where books aren't readily available. And she's part of a poor family where her getting a chance to read a book is just completely out of the question. And I love going through her struggles, trying to find at least one book to read. So I just find it so good. I love the manga style so much, but I will be reading the light novels as well. I'm just going to be absolutely obsessed with the series. I just know it. You know how I was obsessed with One Piece, and I still am. Obviously, like, One Piece is my life. But like, this is probably going to be my next obsession. I can feel it in my bones. Speaking of One Piece, I did get volume 104 when it came out in English in the UK. And yeah, like, there's not really much more to say about One Piece. I read it weekly with my channel members, like all the new chapters, and it's just such an incredible time to be a One Piece fan. So many things are happening. We are gearing up in the final saga of the very long running manga, and it's just so incredible. It's always been incredible to me. I've loved it since the first page, but I love the fact that I can experience what people who are reading weekly can experience, while also hating the fact that I'm reading weekly. And if you have not yet read One Piece, I beg. It follows Luffy and his adventure to becoming the king of the pirates, and that's literally, again, that's another series that I mentioned to death on my channel. So I do have a lot of volume 1s already, but I'm trying to get more of the series that I have tried the first volume for and really enjoyed. So I've picked up volume 5 and 6 of Chainsaw Man. This is a series that I really want to try and read all of in April. So I currently have a list of all the mangas that I'm going to try and read in one go, and it's going to be like a monthly challenge for myself, and I cannot wait to do all these videos. I'm already working on my Berserk one, and I'm having the best time ever. So Chainsaw Man is one that I do want to read in April because I really enjoyed the first volume so much. It does follow someone called Dainya, who is transformed into the Chainsaw Man. It's been a little while since I read the first volume, but I remember being shocked by some parts of it and just really being so taken in by the story. It's going to be a really fun time. I've heard fantastic things about Chainsaw Man in general. I also needed to complete my collection of Monster, so I have volumes 8 and 9 here. Again, this is another series that I've started, and I'm trying to focus on completing the series that I've already started. So Monster is going to be another one that I read all of this year, and just being able to have the entire set. So a lot of these volumes were unavailable in store whenever I would go in. In fact, the only volumes they would ever have would be like volume 3 and 4, which, you know, was not helpful for me whatsoever. And I didn't really want to try and read more of a series until I had them all. So I would have the option to binge it if I couldn't stop reading. And I didn't really want to continue a series that is hard to get hold of. Even if I love the first volume, I kind of wanted to focus on ones that I can get and enjoy. So yeah, Monster by 8 and 9, really enjoyed volume 1 when I read it. Gosh, a year and a bit ago now. It was December 2022 when I read it. So I'll definitely need a reread of the first volume and continue on. But it was like a surgeon, and he makes this really big decision at this hospital he works at that decides the course of his fate, as well as the fate of one of the people that he saves. Oh, and I've got pins and needles now. Why am I sitting on the floor? So another series I'm continuing will be Yona of the Dawn. There are quite a few volumes, and there isn't that many readily available where I shop also. So this is one that I probably will wait until maybe 2025 to read all of. But I loved the first volume. It was so intriguing about a princess who experiences something that causes her to flee her kingdom, essentially. Something massive happens on her 16th birthday. I was shooketh. And that was just the first volume, so I'm very intrigued to continue on. A few people who I love and admire on BookTube love Yona of the Dawn also. So yeah, I'm going to continue collecting this series slowly, and who knows, maybe I might just like read in my own time rather than do like one massive video for it. But then again, there's a part of me that's like, I would love to do a movie-length video for Yona of the Dawn. And another series that I really do want to continue, so I'm not just getting like volume 1s, is Dr. Stone. So I got volumes 3, 4 and 5. Love the first volume of Dr. Stone. Again, it was like set in a world where everyone was turned to stone, and then thousands of years later, or was it hundreds? It was either hundreds or thousands of years later, 2 people wake up, our main characters, and from then we kind of unravel this sort of mystery of what happened. I did absolutely love the first volume. It's very hard for me not to love a first volume of a manga these days. I always get so intrigued by the premise because they're usually so unique. But I just know that this is a series that I'm gonna end up loving. I can't recall if it's finished or not, but I got this in the 3 for 2, so I was like, why not? And I'm gonna try and maybe finish collecting the series this year. Okay, volume 1 that I did pick up is Zom 100, which I have already read and really enjoyed. I love the angle of this zombie apocalypse, but it's not really that serious. I mean, it is serious because, like, you know, there's still death and stuff, but like this follows a character who is just so happy to be able to not have to go to work. And I just loved his approach to the zombie apocalypse because it's kind of in line with what I would think when I had a 9-to-5 job and I didn't absolutely 100% love it, and I just wanted some kind of drastic world event to stop me from having to go to work that day. And this is just like so relatable, so much fun, and it called me to read more of the series because it was great. I also read the first volume of Fire Punch, and I do think I'm going to continue on because this is the same author as Chainsaw Man, but there are only 8 volumes of this, so I don't think it would be that hard to do. There were some weird things about this one, but I'm willing to push past it because the premise does intrigue me. We follow a main character whose body regenerates like almost instantly, and his village is set on fire and his body keeps disintegrating, and it's like years and years and years of pain and torture with like the way his body is regenerating with these like flames, that he is now able to go on this revenge mission. I probably explained that so badly, but I was intrigued enough that I do really want to continue. And 8 volumes is nothing. I could probably read all of that in a day. Okay, I had to do this because I reread the first volume of this, I think back in November, and it made me want to continue straight away. And that's Blue Flag. I did end up getting volumes 2 through 8 of Blue Flag, and I read them immediately. I binged them all pretty much over the course of a couple of days, and the only reason why I didn't binge it all in one go was because I had other things to do. But when I tell you, I think it was the end of volume 2 maybe, let's have a cheeky little look. Maybe the end of volume 2, yeah, end of volume 2, something happened and I was like, oh my god, we can't leave on this cliffhanger. So I had to continue on. And continue on I did. There was a couple of weird things towards the end, and I'm not sure I fully love the ending. I still need time to process the ending of Blue Flag. Overall, I really enjoyed it, and I'm so glad I got them all so that I can like binge read them. And I love the experience of just doing that. So we have a bit of a like love square kind of deal going on with Blue Flag. So we have Tome, Taichi, and Futaba. I probably said their names so wrong, but she loves him, he loves him, and he loves her. And there's another main character who isn't on any of the covers, I don't think, who is also in love with her. So it's like there is some LGBTQ plus rep in this, and it is a good story, and I was very intrigued by it, but I'm still just a little bit unsure about how it ended. It felt a little bit rushed. So yeah, it was still a good time. I picked up volumes 4 through 7 of Goodnight Bum Pun. I plan on reading all of these this summer, so I already have volumes 1, 2, and 3 up on the shelf there. And I have no idea what to expect going into this. I think it does cover like mental health and depression, and I've heard like some people really get upset at reading this series, and it's made people cry, but like I have no idea anything. I don't even know who the character is. The backs of these books are so ominous and like so vague that I couldn't get any kind of summary from it, but I think this is one where the reputation just precedes it and I need to consume it. So I'll read all 7 volumes. I think it was maybe June or July I was gonna read them. So bring on the tears, that's all I can say. I picked up Vinland Saga Book 2. I want to read more seinen because I absolutely love Berserk so much. I'm currently rereading the Golden Age arc before I continue on with it. And I was researching, and a lot of people put Vinland Saga up there as one of the greatest seinens. But I read book 1 last year for my 30 manga 30 days and really liked it. So I'm going to continue on. I'm going to collect each of the books, and I'm going to Iceland in February 2025. So I might end up trying to read all of Vinland Saga around about then. So I'm going to slowly collect all of the volumes, read them for a all-in-one kind of reading vlog. I can't really remember too much of what the plot was. I just remember that it was like Vikings, and that's about it. I also love how all of these books look together, and I think there's actually a deluxe edition volume 1 coming out soon for Vinland Saga that I might have my eye on. But I want to get all of the nice books because, yeah, I love the way they look. I picked up volume 8 of Given. I've read volumes 1 through 7 and I love Given so much. It's about a pair of high school students who start falling in love with one another, and they're part of a band where the other 2 bandmates who are older than them are falling in love with like each other themselves. So it's like a really wholesome boys love manga, filled with music and a good time. I had been waiting so long for Volume 8 to come out. It felt like it came out years ago in Japan. And even when I went to Japan back in September, it had Volume 8, but it was in Japanese, so I couldn't read it. And then finally it came out in English. And now I can read it. I'm so excited. Also continuing on with The Blood on the Tracks. This is Volume 14, and I have read the first 13 volumes. In fact, I think Volume 15 is coming out soon, so I'll have 2 volumes to read back to back. But I did read the first 13 volumes in one video, and it was so good. Such a great experience doing so. And I love Blood on the Tracks. It's gotten under my skin more times than anything else has. It's about this really strange relationship between a mother and her son. And oh my gosh, it's just been an absolute ride. Something changes with Volume 13, which I won't say what it is for spoilers, but it's going to be so interesting to see now where the story is going after that, because I just have no clue. I don't know if maybe I should just like read it right now and then just get Volume 15 when it comes out, because I'm dying to read it. I got this one because I feel like it might be something similar-ish. Well, not in terms of story, but maybe in terms of vibe, but that's Homunculus. And this is an omnibus of like the first 2, and it's about a homeless guy who is stalked by this man who keeps asking him to do this like medical procedure, and he will give him money for it. And I believe the homeless guy ends up getting this procedure, but like when he wakes up, there's something wrong or something different. I'm very intrigued to find out what this is actually about. But I hope it's kind of one of those maybe slightly horror or thriller mangas that I've had my eye on. I love horror manga so far, at least the ones that I've read. So to have more in that range would be great. I don't know if it's fully horror. I could be wrong on that, but it still looks absolutely fantastic regardless. But yeah, it's a chunky one. Speaking of horror mangas that I actually enjoyed, I did really like the first volume of Higurashi When They Cry, Abducted by Demons Arc, Volume 1. I did read this one for my 24 manga in 24 hours challenge, and it was a very good one. I got loads of comments on that video about what I should do next with the series, and I'm excited about every possible avenue that I will take with it. I do still want to continue reading the manga, and it was very intriguing because we followed a guy who goes to this town where this really brutal murder had apparently happened years before, and people in this town won't talk about it. And there's also this like kind of festival when somebody always ends up dying and somebody else gets abducted. So there's just so much going on that's so intriguing. It's like a mystery horror. And I can't wait, honestly. There's something really creepy, really creepy happened towards the end of this volume that was one of the scariest things I've read in a manga yet. So I'm excited. In a totally different vein to that, I got Mashal Volume 1, and I definitely will continue on. This was so ridiculous. It was so funny. Probably the funniest manga I've read so far. We follow Mash. This is, I guess, like some kind of like Harry Potter parody where it really takes the piss out of Harry Potter. We follow Mash in a world where there are wizards, and there is this academy where people train to be wizards, and Mash, he doesn't have magic. He's not a wizard, but he still goes to this academy, and he does his usual human stuff there. And I can't explain it. I'm terrible at explaining things sometimes, but like, it was so funny. It was so funny. Like the way that he flies, for instance, is like he's just moving his feet really fast. I was having an absolute ball reading this. It was so unserious. Mashal, Magic and Muscles. I never would have thought I'd enjoy it, honestly. It didn't sound like my kind of thing, but damn, did it prove me wrong. I picked up Witch Hat Atelier Volume 11, which is the newest Witch Hat Atelier volume. I have the rest of them just there. But there was also Witch Hat Atelier Kitchen Volume 1. But I believe Volume 2 might be out now, and Volume 3 is coming out soon. And I had no idea this was even a thing. And I think this is one that doesn't really have a plot or anything. It's just kind of like slice of life-esque and just wholesome and all about the vibes about cooking in the Witch Hat Atelier world. I believe it does follow a story. The kitchen comes alive as they whip up puddings, stews, parfaits, and jellies. When the sun rises, Coco and the gang are there to save every bite. So I do think it follows an actual story, but like the main story is the Witch Hat Atelier books, and I have only still read the first volume, but I'm going to read all of these in March, I think I put down for it. I'm going to read all of Witch Hat Atelier, and I just loved the first volume, and I've been thinking about it ever since reading it. Love the art style, and again, I love the fact that this has witches, and we have somebody who goes to train to be a witch. Okay, I've read both of these. I couldn't wait. But The Summer Hikaru Died, Volume 1 and Volume 2. This is gay horror, essentially. So we have Hikaru and Yoshiki. And Hikaru, he went off into like the mountains and he ended up dying there. But his body is inhabited by this kind of demon thing. thing, this kind of monster, and Yoshiki knows that he is not really Hikaru. And they do have feelings for one another. It's like very complex, and it really does focus on those complicated feelings. It also has like an undercurrent of horror. Like, it isn't outwardly scary or anything like that. There are some like gross visuals sometimes, and I'm so intrigued by what could potentially happen, because I don't really know what the plot is supposed to be or where it's going, but damn right I'll be buying every volume the minute it comes out and devouring it on that day. I read the first volume of Moriarty the Patriot in my recent video, and I ended up picking up volume 2 because I really enjoyed volume 1 so much. This follows Moriarty, who is Sherlock's rival before he becomes Sherlock's rival, and it's set in a sort of Victorian England, and it's set actually in a town not far from me. It's set in northeast England where I live, and it's the kind of atmosphere that feels so unique to this story. I haven't read, again, I'm kind of a newbie to manga. When do I stop saying that though? Because I've been reading manga for just over a year, really. I think like a year and a half, but I still feel like a noob. So this is like the first of its kind that I've read, and I just really enjoyed it. Laid Back Camp Volume 2 I also picked up because I really enjoyed Volume 1 so much. It is slice of life about a group of girls who are part of this club at school, this outdoor club, and they go camping, and it's just so normal and so uneventful, but sometimes you kind of need those stories in order to feel warm and safe. And the first volume did make me feel warm and safe. I really enjoyed it. Sometimes I need something a little bit different. You know, I love myself some horror, I love myself some action, but to have something laid back is great. So the first volume of Laid Back Camp was fantastic. Very excited to continue. I got more zombie stuff with Boys of the Dead. This one I think is more serious than Zom 100. This one is Boys Love as well. I believe this might be, yeah, Zombie BL. Although I hope it's not the zombies that are doing it. But I do believe we follow a couple of our main characters who find themselves in the zombie apocalypse. Linus and Connor. It's about those pierced by love's arrow in a world on the brink. It does look really interesting, and it has this slipcover thing to it as well, which I've never had on a manga before, so I like the design. Fingers crossed it's actually good. Next I picked up volumes 3 and 4 of Frieren, Beyond Journey's End. Again, love the first volume so much, and I've heard great things about this because I think it's just been made into an anime or something like that. Oh, and when I tell you, like, the first volume, it was so melancholic and so different to what I've read. And again, like, not the most eventful first volume I've ever read, but honestly so good. So it's actually kind of different because it follows Frieren, who is like this immortal being, and her friends are mortal, but we're talking about, you know, after the battle, like what happens to heroes after the battle, once their glory days are over, you know. And so Frieren's, you know, not exactly getting older, but time's moving on, and Frieren isn't getting older, but her friends are. And it just seems like Frieren is like on this sort of journey of life, I guess. It's so hard to explain. I would need to read more of it to fully understand the kind of themes and concepts behind it, but it was such a good story. It did make me feel a little bit sad during the first volume, but so intrigued to pick up more. So this is another one where I'm trying to like collect them all so that I can keep up to date with it, and honestly worth checking out if you have never read it before. I got the first omnibus of Lone Wolf and Cub. This one is an older one that I read for my 24 manga in 24 hours, and it was good. Like, I did like it. It wasn't my favorite of the video. It is a little bit dated, but it does follow samurai life like in medieval Japan, and I love the art style so much. It reminded me of when I went to Japan and I went to these shrines, and there was just so many great things about it that reminded me of Japan. But it is mainly about the samurai who is going around with his son, and that's why it's called Lone Wolf and Cub. He is the lone wolf and his son is the cub, and he is just slaughtering people left, right and center. So I don't really fully understand what the plot of it actually was. It was just sort of this journey for the samurai and the violence that ensued. It's not something that I'm going to gravitate towards picking up anytime soon, but I would be interested in continuing at some point because I think it would be so good to be able to appreciate and understand more of classic Japanese manga. So I picked up the second volume of Undead Unluck. So I did read the first volume and I did like it. There were some things about it that I didn't like though, and I mentioned it in my 30 manga in 30 days. And I have been assured since then that a lot of the things about the first volume that I didn't like are things that will be rectified as the series goes on, and it's not exactly the same. So I am going to give this series a chance. I, again, have heard great things about it. But we follow Fuko, who has this power that kills people, and we follow Andie, who wants to die but can't be killed. He can't even do it himself, and so it kind of leads him on this grand adventure, I guess. And it was such a wacky kind of first volume that I did appreciate some of the humour, enough that I do think I could continue on. I picked up the Spy Family Eyes Only official guide classified thingy-mabobby that came out. I think this is just a sort of handbook to the series so far. It has, you know, questionnaires, it has character profiles, it has just artwork, I guess. You know, I love that. Like, some really good sketches and things about the series that once I've caught up reading it all, I do plan on reading all of Spy Family in February next month. So it's kind of like a nice, cool addition to have for my Spy Family collection, which is just right there. Love the first volume so much. So we followed Lloyd, who is a spy, and one of his recent missions is to infiltrate this school, but he needs a young girl to adopt who turns out to be a telepath, and he needs a wife who turns out to be an assassin. So it's such a good series, and I cannot wait to read more. I also saw that the anime is like really popular too, so once I've caught up with the series, I believe I will end up watching all of the anime. It's just going to be such a good time. What a time to be alive. Picked up volume 3 of PTSD Radio. This is an omnibus, like the third omnibus and final one, I believe, when the author stopped writing it for really sinister and bizarre reasons. So there is this whole kind of urban legend around the writing of this manga, and it's something I can't really remember off the top of my head, but I remember watching a YouTube video about it last year, and it's what got me really wanting to read the series. So I have the first 2 volumes, and now that I have volume 3, which was a little bit harder to get hold of than the first 2, I will give this series a go. I have no idea what it's about. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I have no idea. All I kind of vaguely know is what the mangaka went through while writing it. I imagine it's about some kind of radio. But maybe it's just a metaphor, I don't know. I picked up volumes 3 and 4 of Hunter x Hunter. I do want to continue reading the series, but I'm going to go a little bit slow with this one because I know it's still ongoing and there have been so many hiatuses from the mangaka in writing the series. So I'm going to go a little bit slow with it, but I'll slowly collect the volumes in the like 3-for-2 offers and stuff like that at Forbidden Planet and end up really enjoying the series. I did really enjoy the first volume. It's set in a world where there are hunters, and we had Gon, I believe his name was it Gon? Yeah, Gon. He ends up entering this like exam, and that's kind of where I left the first volume. So there was way more that I really want to say. It was, again, very exciting, and I just can't wait to read it. But yeah, gonna go slow with it. So the next one was a huge surprise from my 24 manga in 24 hours video. That is Oshinoko. I wasn't expecting anything that happened in the first volume. So we follow this doctor, okay, and he has to look after this patient who comes in, and she is a superstar. She is a big idol, right? And he's a fan of her. However, he ends up getting killed and gets reincarnated as her baby. Well, she has twins, and he comes back as one of them. And it's so weird. It's so weird. But you know what? This story takes such a turn. By the end of the first volume, I was like, damn, like, what? I can't even explain it. But I remember the kind of initial premise of being reincarnated as an idol's baby as something that made me pick it up in the first place. But again, even then, I just wasn't expecting it the way it all happens. And it's so good. So definitely worth checking out, I think. I picked up the first volume of Blue Lock too. I'm not really that big into sports, but I've been enjoying some sports mangas like Haikyuu, and Blue Lock was no exception. It was so exciting. And this one is, well, it says soccer, and that's why I said in my 24 manga in 24 hours. I know I'm British. I know I should have said football, but it says soccer. Like, this is like, it says soccer in this, so I just went with soccer. But this is about a whole bunch of characters who go to this place called Blue Lock, and it's almost like, I guess, Squid Games, but for like football/soccer, where nobody dies really, but if you get eliminated from Blue Lock, then you will never ever get the chance to be a striker for the Japan team, and they want to try and get into the World Cup and win. So the stakes are quite high, and it is a competition-based manga. It surprised me how much I enjoyed it. Yeah, it's like a battle royale. The last striker standing will have to outmuscle and out-ego everyone who stands in his way. Again, I wasn't expecting to like it because I don't like football very much, but I really enjoyed this. I'm so glad so many people told me to check out A Man and His Cat because this was the most adorable thing I've ever read. This follows an old man who is lonely, and he ends up adopting this cat who nobody else wants to adopt in the shelter, and I was getting so heartbroken for this cat. But you know, he does end up getting adopted by the main character, and it's about them like forming a bond, really. I love it so much. It was so cute. I'm gonna get way more volumes of this. It's so short and so quick to get through. It's just, I loved it. I love cats. So this spoke to me on a spiritual level. Again, if you want something that's very low-key, something that's not going to be too exciting, but you kind of want something normal to escape your life from, thank you everyone who recommended it. Next, I do have a little box set, and that is Made in Abyss. It has the first 5 volumes in it. And I did like the first volume. I didn't love some of the problematic stuff that happened. Like, some perverted stuff does happen in the first volume that I was kind of hoping maybe once we're removed from that situation that it won't happen again. But I've been told in the comments of my video, there's still things coming up that I'm not going to enjoy. So I should probably check out the anime over the manga. I will still read the first 5 volumes because I now own them. But I do love the idea of the world. There is like this cavernous abyss that people do go down into to explore, and nobody knows exactly how deep it really is or all of the things that it has. There are kind of monsters on different levels. The main character, her mum, has gone down to like the bottom, and it's just so intriguing to explore that. But yeah, the main characters are all like children, and they are in this like sort of orphanage kind of place that is kind of training them up to go down into this abyss. But yeah, some sketchy stuff happens, and I didn't love those elements to it. But I'll still continue, I'll still give it a chance, and if not, I will check out the anime. And finally, I have 3 very big, very gorgeous volumes. My Berserk collection is now complete. I got volumes 12, 13, and 14 of the deluxe editions of Berserk. So that's all of them now. I have all 14 of the deluxe editions. Berserk is still running. There are going to be more volumes and chapters and things. But the original mangaka of the series, Kentaro Miura, did pass away nearly 3 years ago now. And this is all of his work. So from volumes 1 through 14 of the deluxe, that's all Kentaro Miura. So I feel honoured to have all of it now. And I love Berserk so much. I'm in the middle of rereading the Golden Age arc. And again, it's just like one of the best things I've ever read. And I cannot wait to get my complete Berserk reading vlog done. Hopefully within the next week or so, because I'm just enjoying it so much. It's so dark. I would not recommend it to everyone, but if you want like a really dark medieval fantasy about a lone swordsman with this brand on him that summons demons to him, like he can't escape it, his life is miserable and awful. It's just so good though. It has that sort of swords and sorcery element to it. Fantastic monsters and villains. Oh my god, it's just amazing. It's so good. But again, very dark, some tough subject matter too. Just, yeah, it's just good. It's so good. Anyway, that is my manga haul. I think that's 61 volumes in total, I think. Or maybe like 65, I think. Maybe 65. But that is still ridiculous. I will be slowing down my purchases in 2024. But I do want to still continue to collect manga. It makes me so happy. And obviously read them too. So if you want to see more manga hauls and more manga reading challenges and vlogs, then do subscribe. Do like the video to show that you're here and you like the video. And don't forget to leave all the comments down below to tell me what you think I should read first. Let me know what you love out of what I got. Let me know if you got any good manga over Christmas. And I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye.